A 5,300-year-old crime victim has been frozen in a museum for 30 years. Last month, scientists found living organisms still growing inside his body. In Romania, bacteria sealed in a 5,000-year-old cave ice turned out to be resistant to 10 modern antibiotics. Antibiotics that weren't invented until 1928. And in the Yukon, hunting tools have been melting out of glacier ice for decades, perfectly preserved for 9,000 years, and at one very specific point in history, they just stopped. No explanation. These are 10 things found frozen in glaciers that scientists cannot explain. I'm Olivia, let's get into it. The Yukon ice patches of Canada. As these high altitude ice patches melt, hunting tools have been emerging. Dart shafts, arrowheads, carved antler points, some dating back 9,000 years and still perfectly preserved. Remarkable on its own, but here's the part that doesn't add up. The evidence shows indigenous hunters used dart throwing technology at these specific sites for approximately 7,800 consecutive years. And then, around 1,200 years ago, it disappeared completely, replaced entirely by the bow and arrow with no transitional period. No sites showing both technologies being used simultaneously. No explanation for how a hunting method used for nearly 8,000 years vanished that abruptly. The ice preserved the evidence perfectly. It just didn't preserve the answer. The Lendbreen ice patch in the Norwegian mountains. As this ice retreats, archaeologists have been recovering artifacts from basically every major era of human history. Bronze Age bows, Roman era tools, a 1,700-year-old horse snowshoe, Viking spears, medieval equipment, all from the same small mountain pass. A 2025 review called it one of the most archaeologically complex ice sites ever documented. Here's what doesn't fully make sense. Objects from eras 1,000 years apart are turning up within meters of each other. Items found in combinations that shouldn't logically be in the same place. Something about who was using this pass and why doesn't fully add up. The ice kept everything, it just doesn't bother explaining the arrangement. The Mendenhall Glacier in Alaska has been retreating, and it's leaving behind a forest. Trees emerging from the glacial ice, carbon dated to between 1,000 and 2,000 years old, and they are standing upright. Roots still in the ground, not fallen, not scattered, standing like they've been waiting. Which sounds peaceful until you think about what has to happen for a tree to be preserved upright under a glacier for 1,000 years. The glacier would have had to advance and bury them so fast the trees had no time to topple. The specific glaciological mechanism that would produce that, a glacier advancing rapidly enough to entomb a standing living forest in place, has not been confirmed for this site. This one I need you to actually sit with for a second. In the Skarasawara ice cave in Transylvania, researchers found a bacterial strain entombed in 5,000-year-old ice. Then they tested it against modern antibiotics. It was resistant to 10 of the 28 antibiotics they tried. It carries over 100 resistance-related genes in its genome. Antibiotics were not invented until 1928. This bacterium was sealed in ice 5,000 years ago. It should have zero reason to develop resistance to drugs that didn't exist yet. Scientists published this in February 2026. The working theory is that resistance genes can evolve naturally in soil bacteria without antibiotic exposure, which is true, but 100+ resistance genes in a frozen cave bacterium is a lot. They are still working out the implications, so I guess the moral is the ice in Romania is full of surprises and none of them are good surprises? Okay. Don't click out. I know we have spoken about Otzi the Iceman many times, but this one is a little different, okay? In 1991, hikers in the Alps found a 5,300-year-old frozen victim who had his life taken. Scientists have been studying him for over 30 years, and in June 2026, we're talking just last month, researchers published a study finding cold-adapted yeast species still alive inside him, growing in his gut, on his skin, in the meltwater around him. Not ancient ancient remnants actively metabolizing organisms. The debate now is whether these are his original microbes, preserved for 5,300 years and still functioning in cold museum storage, or modern contamination. The problem with the contamination theory is that the yeast strains are cold-adapted ancient lineage organisms, not commonly found in lab environments. The evidence is pointing towards these being real 5,000-year-old living organisms that have been quietly metabolizing inside a frozen crime victim this entire time. So, I'm a little terrified. Ohio State University drilled ice cores from the Gullia ice cap on the Tibetan plateau and found viruses frozen there for 15,000 years. They identified 33 groups of viruses in the ice. 28 of them don't match anything in any existing viral database. Not a new strain of a known virus, just completely unknown virus groups that have never been cataloged or characterized anywhere in science. Researchers believe most of them infected microbes rather than animals, which is probably the best for us, but probably is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. The glacier has been preserving these for 15,000 years. As it melts, they're being exposed. Scientists are urgently trying to characterize 28 categories of virus from ice that's actively disappearing. Cool, that's great, everything's awesome. Perfect. Underneath 1,085 meters of Antarctic glacier ice, this lake has been completely sealed from the surface world. In 2025, genetic analysis of its water, published in Nature, identified over 1,300 unique microbial genomes, including entirely new species exhibiting metabolic strategies not documented anywhere else on Earth. The mystery isn't just that life exists there. Science now accepts that part. The mystery is the level of complexity. The genetic diversity in a sealed, lightless, near-freezing lake with virtually no energy input is far higher than isolated ecosystem models predict. Something down there is sustaining a more complex biological community than should be possible. Under nearly 4 kilometers of Antarctic glacier ice, if one wasn't enough, Lake Vostok has been sealed from the outside world for approximately 15 million years. Russian scientists drilled through it in 2012. The water contains genetic material representing potentially thousands of species, and one sequence belonging to a bacterium that cannot be placed in any known branch of life. Not a new species in a known family, something that appears to sit on a completely separate branch of the tree of life entirely. A BBC report called it the discovery of a new type of bacterial life. 15 million years of isolation under 4 kilometers of ice apparently produced something we don't have a taxonomic category for. Scientists are still sequencing, still arguing about exactly what they found. The lake is still sealed down there. Whatever is in it has been evolving alone in the dark since long before humans existed. Scientists analyzing Antarctic glacier ice cores up to 80,000 years old found iron-60. Iron-60 is a radioactive isotope that cannot be produced on Earth. It is only created inside dying stars, specifically in supernova explosions. And it was sitting there in the ice, distributed across multiple layers in a study published in May 2026. This confirms our solar system has been moving through clouds of interstellar debris from ancient stellar explosions, and the Antarctic glacier has been quietly preserving physical evidence of those cosmic events for tens of thousands of years. What science can't fully explain is the distribution pattern. The iron-60 layers suggest our solar system has passed through interstellar debris clouds more recently and more regularly than any existing model predicted. The ice isn't just preserving Earth's history, it's been collecting evidence from dead stars. I don't know, maybe disturbing ice that's been keeping stardust for 80,000 years wasn't the best idea anyone ever had, or maybe it was, because that's actually kind of cool when you really think about it. Scientists buried detectors in Antarctic glacier ice to catch neutrino particles arriving from space. Particles come from above, pass through the detector, science moves forward. Except Anita started detecting signals coming from the wrong direction, from below, going upward, particles apparently traveling up through the Earth and into the ice from underneath. The standard model of physics, the framework describing every particle we know exists, says this is impossible at the energy levels Anita is measuring. A tau neutrino could theoretically do something like this, but not at those energies. These signals have been analyzed for a decade. As of June 2025, scientists published that the mystery remains unresolved and the signals continue arriving. The leading explanations are a completely unknown particle that physics hasn't accounted for, or something fundamentally incorrect in the standard model itself. The ice isn't producing these signals, it's just the thing catching them. Whatever is sending them from below, traveling up through the entire planet, is something science currently has no name for. So that's awesome. All right, guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Bye!